Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Squid Game Season 2, Episode 3. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So the opening opens up with Junho and Mr. Chow, as they've gathered up the hired gun squad. They get on a boat, and they're trying to find the island. They're able to still track Gi-hoon. So they're like, right, we know the relative location. It's just a matter of getting out there, which let's stay on that. They go out there. I just felt like it was too easy. And once again, I'm still suspicious of the guy who found Jung-ho, because it's like, right, you just happen to be the one person that found him. And he's trying to be supportive, but also at the same time, it's like, oh, if you're going to shut this down, oh, well, I guess we'll just have to shut it down. It just doesn't seem right, because that's the thing. You can't trust anyone. This show is meant to like fill you with suspicion, because you have no idea who you really can trust and who you can't. And I've had a weird feeling about Home Dude since episode 1. I was like, I don't know about him, but we'll see. But nevertheless, sadly, they thought they had found the island. I was like, there's no way it's going to be that easy. Either, I was like, they most likely went to a different island. But it's like, you have all this set up on this very specific island. And, you know, I mean, once again, it's been 3 years, so things could change. They have enough money and resources to do this. They could have set up on a different island. But by the time they got to the island, it turns out that, and it's sadly, Gi-hoon had hope. He felt his tooth. He's like, all right, the fake tooth is still there. But then, like, later on, when he realizes, I haven't seen anything, ever heard anything, they weren't that far behind us, so they should have been able to find us by now. But then he thought, wait a minute, pulls out the tooth. They were smart. They knew they wanted to kind of give him some false hope, let him believe like, okay, help is on the way. But yeah, they put the false tooth back so he wouldn't be suspicious. He'll keep going along with everything, thinking like, all right, I have my out if need be. They'll come in guns a-blazing. Turns out they took the tracker out of his tooth and gave it to someone else. Sent that crew, Junho and them, on a wild goose chase. You're like, damn it, dude. It's like, hey, these people know what they're doing. They've been doing these games for a very long time, and they have a system in place for protection and stuff like that. So either way, speaking of Gi-hoon, we pick up with him, and he's back, and they gave him his old number back. And I think it's very important to think about the fact is I thought it was so interesting because last season, regardless of it all, they kept proclaiming like, right, we have to make this game as fair as possible. And remember game 5, the guy could tell the difference between the fake glass and the real glass. The glass that could support a human's weight and the ones that couldn't. He could tell because he was like a glass artisan. But it's like, they turn off the lights because they want to make this fair. It has to just be by pure luck or skill, even though that falls under his skill and category and they overlooked it, but it's still like, you have an advantage. That's what I was thinking the entire episode. I'm like, well, the whole game is supposed to be quote unquote fair, but Gi-hoon has an advantage. He's played all the games. So I'm like, either all the games are new, but then we see them playing red light, green light. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's a situation of, despite knowing the rules, it doesn't change anything. And it kind of didn't. I mean, change things to some degree and didn't others. We'll kind of break that down, and I'll break that down in a little bit, but it does put Gi-hoon in a very particular situation because he knows the games. But it's like, some of that, like, even knowing it won't change. The fact is, you still have time restraints, you have a time limit, and it's just a matter of, yo, are you actually going to do said thing, you know? But that's also to say the rest of the other games are exactly the same. Maybe they aren't. Maybe the first game is the same, but the others have changed. And because there are slight variation in some of the rules, as Gi-hoon quickly learns. I also think it's interesting because the crowd asked very different questions. Like, this crowd asked very different questions than Gi-hoon's crew did 3 years ago. Because they're asking questions like, yo, why are you wearing those masks? Which I think it's interesting too. Maybe I didn't pay as much of attention, but I don't think that's the case. But if you look at the masks now, you can't see their face, but you can see the face beneath the mask more than you could before. You still can't make out any details, but you can still see the person's face behind the mask to a small degree. So I was like, that's interesting. I don't know if that's some like subtle way of kind of trying to humanize them even more. I mean, we already knew they were humans, they were people, and we got some faces associated with it, but now we know like at least one person that's working that side of things. It's number 11, Noel. She's working that situation. So we have a more direct correlation. Even like I brought this up previously too. Junho was, investigating from the inside, but he wasn't as in the know about everything. And he never did a lot of the other jobs that the others did, like killing people or burning bodies. He never had to handle a lot of that stuff. He managed to get stirred around having to do any of that. So to have someone to be our insider, to have that view on things, I think is going to be a really interesting perspective to kind of deep dive and get that side of the staff this season, without someone just pretending to be staff. But yeah, like they were just asking a lot of questions, and but we go through the typical rigmarole where it's like, right, we know who you people are. You're trying to say like you don't deserve to be here, but we know each and every one of you's racked up debt. You have that mom and son who are here. The mom's like, I'm here trying to pay off your debt. Why are you here, you idiot? It's like, I'll stay. My son has to go home. She's like, I'm going to stay if you stay, I'm going to stay. It's like, and he has to be so embarrassed. He's like, mom, stop it. Like it's like I said, it's so interesting because, once again, to our knowledge, the only thing we had, it's not the same thing, but I brought it up in like episode 1 or 2, was like we only had one couple that entered the game together. Otherwise, like most people who entered the game are complete and utter strangers to each other. So, but this is where we start getting into some of the differences in the game. We find out, and even Gihun noticed it, because I was like, that's distinctly interesting, and even Gihun pointed it out. The rules initially were whenever the games are canceled, whatever money that has been accumulated gets sent to the deceased, like the family or whatever of the deceased. So even the people who die, like at least the people they care about get taken care of type of situation. But this time around, anytime they cancel the game, whatever money is accumulated gets split amongst the survivors. Now that's really, really interesting, because making these subtle changes, because even Gihong kind of didn't know how to really process that and deal with that. I thought it was interesting too that he didn't immediately say anything, because I was like, well, you're going to probably draw unnecessary attention to yourself, and it's like, well, you plan on getting as many people out of here as alive as possible, try to keep everyone alive. But I guess he also wasn't counting on the games to actually play out. He thought they'd get rescued before then, like his crew would come in guns and blazing, so he only revealed everything when he had to, because he's like, crap, we're kind of all in this together. But yeah, obviously, just like the first time through, we're meeting some people, getting to see some circumstances. Like we meet the guy who used to be a YouTuber. His name was like was it MG Coin or MC Coin? I think it was MG Coin. He ended up frauding a lot of people out of their money. They had it like it was a crypto scam. So he's the guy that Kim and Chow saw in episode 2 getting slapped up. That was him. And once again, I don't know if Junhee is like his sister or significant other, whatever the case may be, which she's also here, but he hasn't picked up the fact is that she's there. I saw his name in the cast list, like when I was looking up the cast for the show, and I saw someone named Thanos. So I was like, is that a misplaced? It's like, no, he's like a rapper or whatever. So it's like interesting. It was the character's name, Deoksu, was that it? From the gangster dude. It feels like he's kind of playing a little bit of that vibe. There's also a crazy lady from last season who had her whole thing with Deoksu. There's a lady that's kind of not the same, but she kind of sees Gihon and says like, oh, there's spirits around you. I'm like, this lady might be a little off her rocker, but it might be the thing of she seems a little crazy, but I'm saying like she's probably got a feeling vibe. I don't know if she's necessarily like a fortune teller or like card reader, whatever the case may be. She seems off her rocker, but there might be something more to her, that she might be crazy, but there might be some validity to it. I mean, the person she like pointed out ended up being Gihu, and she's like, no matter what you do, you kind of can't escape your destiny. Even saying like, it wasn't you yourself that kind of brought yourself here. It was more so the spirits around you kind of being haunted by all those that are dead. So she's definitely going to be an interesting character to keep the lookout for. The interesting enough, it's like it's mainly the people they went out of their way to focus on are significant people. There was the girl that was kind of like, oh, I don't like this outfit. Ooh, I like the pink of your outfit. She's the first victim in the it's just like, to be fair, it's just like the first Squid Game, where it's just like, yo, you got some very specific personalities, and then stuff popped off, and like some of those people were taken care of. But we're seeing like, even initially, we're kind of getting introduced to some people that I think are going to be kind of our core cast going forward. at least to some extent. So, and I should have talked about this in episode 1, but Gi-hoon runs into his buddy, was it Junbei, I believe. I figured he was going to be a part of the games because if you watch the season 1 recap, they made sure to include that during the recap. Is when Gi-hoon went to him to get money, he was like, yeah, but my wife won't let me. They specifically included that, so I was like, he's got to come back in the show in some shape or form then. And lo and behold, he's here in the game. I figured he would be. Could we find out, like, yo, he's divorced, and Gi-hoon's like, what, did you, like, have an affair? He's like, dude, like, I could manage one. It's just things that work out. Apparently, and this is something I brought up too, like, oh, no one's really kept up with Gi-hoon. It's because he basically disappeared. Like, after what happened to his mom, like, after being out of the game, he disappeared in that year period and just probably kept a pretty low profile, doing the only popping up when he necessarily needed to, when it was like Sabiok's brother or Sangwoo's mom, that whole situation that he set up. But there's also the aspect of like, because even his buddy was like, dude, I thought you were dead. Like, after your mom died, you know how important she was to me? You didn't even tell me. Like, I had to learn from my wife that your mom died. So it's like, yeah, but Gi-hoon's like kind of cut ties with everyone because all he's been focused on these past 2 years is this. So, you know, I mean, obviously there was a year of him just like putting himself together just for the purposes of, you know, because he that year he spent just drowning in his sorrows about it, and then like around that time is when he fixed himself up, and so he wasn't really in a position to talk to anyone. You know, it was only after the whole situation with Ilnam that kind of, you know, made him want to kind of make a change. So, but then, you know, that situation, seeing the salesman, that talk on the phone at the end of season 1 as well, just all of that made him go like, nah, I'm in for this fight. I'm gonna burn this whole thing to the ground. There's a lot of people here, once again, who just think this is just a game. It's like that guy even explained to his mom. He's like, mom, it's not gambling. It's just a game. It's like, well, it's just a different form of gambling, but it exactly is a gamble situation. Plus the picture situation and Gi-hoon not doing like, and I love just, he's a very different person. This is the guy that was just stumbling his way through. He knows what to expect. Also, when his photo was taken, did not smile. Smiled the first time, the goofy, because everyone's taking this as a joke. It's like, oh, this is just a game and stuff like that. And, you know, even Thanos getting like all those pictures of people like, oh my god, I'm a fan, blah 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 blah, and he's trying to hit on that girl who wants nothing to do with him. And then lo and behold, we find out it is red light, green light again. And that's when Gi-hoon finds out the truth. And then before the game even starts, he tries to tell everyone, dude, you lose, get eliminated, you die. There will be people that shoot you and no one wants to listen to him. But you got to give it up to your boy Gi-hoon. He was like, all right. And he told everyone, freeze, when the time came. I was like, look at Gi-hoon getting as many people out of here as possible. It's like, yo, we're going to make sure people survive. So he's like, no matter what, don't panic, freeze. And the first death happened because like, if things had kept going on that way, I was so curious. This kept going back to my point of, it's not even a fair game technically because Gi-hoon's trying to get as many people out, you know, surviving as much, but you know, nature works the way it does. The girl like gets caught because like a bee gets on her. She's like, oh, I guess I'm out. Then immediately kicks a blick to the head. So it's like, oh. And this is when people start panicking and Gi-hoon's like, stop, do not run, do not move. And people get blasted. You're like, damn it. I mean, no matter what you tell people, no one took him serious. Everyone thought he was crazy. He was wild. And now it's like, oh, there's truth to this. This can't be happening. And, you know, regardless of everything, it's just like, damn, dude. Gi-hoon tried to save as many people, but they're still victims regardless, you know? And so Gi-hoon is doing everything he can. He's making sure he's like, I'm talking, but like as long as this thing doesn't see you moving, it's fine. So anytime he's talking, he's put his forearm in front of his face. He's letting Junbei, he was like, well, no matter what happens, you stay right behind me. You stay with me. And he's giving everyone all the tips and tricks. It's like this thing, like he's in front covering his mouth and signaling with his back, a hand behind his back, being like, yo, okay, you get behind someone bigger than you. As long as this thing doesn't see you move, like that's fine. It uncovers motion it can see, not anything that it can't see. And you're like, yo, Gi-hoon moving this like a well-oiled machine. And it's like, for the most part, people are handling it. Obviously, Thanos is kind of an issue because he popped some pills and because of that, he was wilding out. I love it too because I was like, it's kind of interesting. It's not the same position, but it's similar to like, it's funny that Gi-hoon has become like the new Ilnam, which is all kinds of effed up. I mean, there's layers to how effed up that would be, you know, in the grand scheme of things. But just in the confines of the show, um Gi-hoon like is kind of leading the charge, whereas like the old man was doing that, and you thought like, oh man, this is fun, yada yada yada. But now it's like, no, like he was having fun, but he also didn't warn anybody. You know, it's also like he couldn't really let anyone know what was what because it would have like revealed who he really was. But he was out front. You're like, oh, he's a crazy old man. He's got nothing to live for. Gi-hoon is like, no, I got to get through this game. I also got to make sure more people survive. And you know, he's doing his thing. He's acting like a leader. You know, which I think is very beautiful in its own regard, just trying to make as many people survive. Like I said, Thanos got at least 3 people killed because he pushed people over, and he's high and he's smiling about it like, bye. You're like, oh, you dick. Like, I get it, you're stressed, and your way of dealing with it was popping pills, so. I think it's Junhee. There's a picture of her that's like the main picture, like when you're going to the next episode. I wonder, is she pregnant? That's why I'm like, I don't know if that's like I don't think that's his sister. It might be his significant other, and she might be pregnant because the lady that was there with her at the time was pregnant as well. So she must still be pretty early stage. Because like when she's doing the thing, she's grabbing onto her stomach, and that dude's mom is like, hey, are you okay? Just hold on to me. Just make sure you're okay. And just everyone's making it through. You're just like, oh boy. And it is the sad thing of it is what it is, but the moment someone makes you fall, like someone lands on top of you, makes you fall, it's over. And so what was it? 44 or what? No, it might no, I can't. It might have been 444. I can't remember which number it was. It was either 44 or 444. But he gets shot in the leg, and it's like, well, as we know, like they will injure you and then like later on kill you. Just like it, there's not 100% consistency. But one of the staff shot the guy in the leg. And everyone managed to cross the line, but then Gi-hoon, 30 seconds left on the clock, is like, all right, I'm going to go back for that guy, even though he was already eliminated. So he was doomed to begin. I was like, there's no way they're just going to let him win. He was already eliminated because he fell. But he goes over, and Gi-hoon like tries to help him, but he wasn't the only one. It was, I think it's 120. I believe they're the one that helped. I believe that was their number. The character that was introduced that seems to be very like, I mean, we don't know their circumstances, but it's like the guy and his mom are talking about it. She's like, is that a man or a woman? He's like, yeah, some people just like to, men like to dress like women. She's like, why would you want to do that? He's like, God, it's not polite to talk about that. So we don't know what their circumstances are, whatever the case may be. I think they said their name, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But together, them and Gi-hoon tried to get Home Dude across, and it's very reminiscent of Ali saving Gi-hoon, because he knows like it takes a village type of situation, because he only made it through because of so many people around him. Like for example, the first round, the only reason why he's still alive is because Ali grabbed him at the last second, before he could get popped, and they kind of crossed the line together. So it's kind of a similar thing. And just as the clock is counting down, literally everyone crossed, which is beautiful considering like, those who didn't die along the way, because when Gi-hoon was here 3 years ago, there was quite a few people that were still stragglers who didn't cross the line in time and got blicked, so it's like for the rest of the people to get across was impressive, but then sadly they killed Home Dude who crossed, because once again he was already eliminated. And I don't know if Home Dude just did that on purpose, whether he was like, oh, that's the most merciful way I could do this, is make it so you don't cross the line, or whether he did, I don't know, because Noah like ended up finishing the guy. She's like, right, I finished what you like couldn't do. Like I eliminated him. It's almost like the guy looked thankful. He's like, oh, thank you, 11, for like helping me out in that regard. So I don't know his reasoning for that, because it's like you could have just killed the guy, but like I said, it's effed up because it's like you let him finish before you shot him. Because I guess it would have been unfair considering they went back to help him. And it's like, you waited till they crossed the line. It's like, oh, thank you for saving me. Bam, he's dead. So that sucks. But I was like, ooh, what's the numbers going to look like this time? The numbers are drastically different. Someone has to correct me. I want to say the number last time, like after game 1, was like, wasn't it like 271 or 272, something like that? Maybe not. It might have been 2. I think it was an odd number considering how the vote plays out. So it had to be an odd number. So it might have been like 273 or something like that. I don't remember. It was in the higher 200s. Now it's 365. Only 91 people died. It still sucks. That's a shit ton of people to still die. But because the number was nearly, it's not exactly, but it was almost like almost half the people died the first round last time. And I also brought it up previously. We don't know if there's been games in the past 3 years or not. There probably have been, but who knows? It seems like there would be, because once again, Mr. Kim had said in like episode 1 when he was talking to his crew, like, yo, I've had people disappearing who owe me money. So there have definitely been games that have continued since. So, and Gi-hoon filling the role of Sung-woo kind of was like, yo, there's the vote we could have. Let's enact the vote right now. I love that whole situation. Especially when you tie it in with like you had people pleading and begging. It's like, once again, the same thing happened. And just like previously, what do we do? It's like, all right, we'll hear all your concerns. We're not here holding you hostage. You kind of volunteered to be here, yada, yada, yada. They kind of gave that speech before the first game began. But it's like, oh, how about we show you the prize money first? Because that's how they always reel you in. Because it's like, now that they're able to see the money, it's like, oh, how much is that? It's like, oh, that's like 9 point some billion won. What's the grand prize again? Oh, it's going to be like 45.6 billion, and that's enough to turn a lot of people. Because you even see Gi-hoon looking at his buddy Jung-bae, and it's like, okay, you're getting seduced by the money. It's like, once again, these are people who are all in serious debt and just crappy situations, so that money's going to look enticing no matter what. But I love that, just like last time, it's like, we're going to start with the last number, 456. Just like last time, Gi-hoon is, first up, but obviously he's also certain. He just goes over, walks over, setting the stage, boom, hits the X button. They didn't do this last time. I mean, they had you separate based on what you said, but I love that they put like a marker on you too, to be like, this is what you voted. And realizing the episode title was like 001, I was like, oh my God, we're doing it again. 001 is going to be the deciding factor, aren't they? And lo and behold, they were. It came down to an even split. Like, I think at that time, the people wanting to stay ended up being like in a couple points higher, and Gi-hoon had to be like, yo, don't you understand? More of us are going to have to die if this keeps on. And everyone's like, yo, how do you know all this? You knew what was going to happen, and you scared us doing all that. It's like, no, yes, I tried to scare you by telling you the truth. And Jung-bae, as well as like the old lady, the dude's mom, tried to be like, yo, he actually helped us. It's like, you are over there shaking, scared, and you're up here doubting him now because they're like, oh, you're probably an insider for the game, and arguing back and forth. Gi-hoon is like, fine, I've been here before, and everyone's quiet. He's like, I've been through this game before. They're like, wait, you won? He's like, yes, I did, and every single person that was with me died. So he's like, I know what I'm talking about. But then they're like, wait, if you won, that would mean you got the 45.6 bill. So why would you come back? It's like, well, he didn't really get a chance to explain. I'm here to destroy all this. But it's like, for them, it's like, well, if you've had a champion before, that means you can help us through. So some people took that being like, well, we have someone here who knows the games. Once again, that could be also why they want Gi-hoon here also, because we've changed things enough because you didn't participate in the 2 previous games that happened, not knowing how things have changed. Like, there might, like I said, the first game could be the same. Maybe the other following 5 are different, or like, the rules have been changed, or who knows, or maybe it's exactly the same. Whatever the case may be, it sets the stage for a lot. Everyone now knows, like, oh, like, even them setting it up at the end that like, oh, multiple people can walk away with the money. That was not a thing. Like, it had to come down to a single winner or everyone walks away type of situation. There was no middle ground of, well, if you walk away, whoever's left gets to split the money. But there are people already being like, whoa. So that means a person can come out as a single winner. It's like, yes, you just have to kill or let everyone else around you die. So that's good. That's such a it just, once again, just tweaking it just that enough is able to kind of play into the darkness and greed and desperation of these people. I mean, that's human nature, and that's the whole point of the game too, to kind of show the hypocrisy of people. It's like, you could die in this situation, but some people are still celebrating, like, yeah, we get a chance to go. It's like, you might die, there's no guarantee you'll live, but for them it's like, taking this gamble is worth it. They are all gamblers, they are all willing to take this chance. Like, gambling might not be their affliction, but they're all taking a gamble here because they think, I could come out on top and win. It's like, take the win that you had. You could have walked away with 9 billion. Like I said, that would have been like the lower mills, like single digit mills maybe. No, I think it would have been double digit mills, wouldn't it? In the grand scheme of things, it's like, that's still a lot. That would have been like very, very roughly like 8 to like 9. Maybe that would have been like 80 to 90 million. maybe I'm being stupid. I'm not good at math. So it's like you still would have walked away with a good chunk of money. But even one of the guys was like, yo, they want us to like just almost dying is only worth like 9 point some billion. It's like, how much weight are you going to put on your life? Because like all of you will not survive this, but you're perfectly okay at that because everyone's able to rationalize it by being like, yeah, but it won't be me. I'll survive this situation. So even Gi-hoon's attempt to reach out to them did not work. I even love, they waited, and I love it so much. They waited before they got over to Gi-hoon to tell him, like, stop. We won't let any more interference. The fact is they let it go on as long as they did was on purpose because they wanted to kind of show something. They knew that if Gi-hoon did what he did, yes, he'd convince some people to his side, but he'd also push some people further to the other side to say they want to keep playing the game. It's just like the whole situation of in season 1. What did they do? They made sure there was less food to go around just so shit would pop off. It's the exact same thing. They wait until the last minute to interfere just to egg things on just to kind of add more excitement to the game. That's what it is. So that's why they let Gi-hoon get off what he needed to get off, because they knew it would have, the effect he intended for some people, but the opposite for others. And like I said, it comes down to it. And I was like, they're going out of their way to hide who 001 is. I'm like, who is it going to be? Is it going to be someone that Gi-hoon knows? And it's like, to some extent, yes. It didn't even cross my mind for it to be what it is. And I was like, who is it? Who is it? And lo and behold, it's fucking Inho. I was like, the front man himself. Because he disappeared partway through. I think the first game wasn't even done when he left. It's like he snuck in here while that was all going down. So, because I did think it was, because I can't remember if the person in black, because everyone else is wearing a pink hoodie except for that person in black who's wearing a black hoodie. I don't know. I don't remember if there was someone like that during the first game or not. But now it makes sense because I guess the frontman was just waiting for his opportunity to jump in. I was like, to spice things up, but also following in Il-nam's steps, because of course you're going to do that. But the problem is, Gi-hoon doesn't know what the frontman looks like. He's heard his voice, but that's only through modulation. You've never heard what he actually sounds like, so you'd never know he's right there in front of you. He's probably going to get close to you, secretly sabotage stuff, because he's probably looking after what like Il-nam said, wanting to play in the game himself. I mean, I guess it kind of plays into what Gi-hoon was telling the salesman, like, right, you've never played the games yourself, and now Inho is following Il-nam's footsteps, and it's like, yeah, I'm kind of running the game, so it'll be exciting to participate as well, because hey, there's a chance I might die. Once again, it's kind of like me going toe-to-toe with Gi-hoon, who wants to destroy the games. I'm here to kind of keep the integrity intact, and maybe in his mind it's like, this way technically I'm balancing the scales of the fairness of the game, like Gi-hoon, who knows the games, versus me, who's the front man, who might be here to secretly sabotage some shit. How he goes about it's going to be interesting, whether he gets close to Gi-hoon and tries to manufacture like some tension. I mean, the squad's already fractured already, because that's the point. The people who don't want to be here versus the people who do want to be here. And because he was the deciding factor, just like his predecessor was, they're staying here. So I love that reveal. And it's like, it makes all the sense in the world that it would play out like that. Just the beautiful parallels to season 1 in that regard. Kind of like the sad cycle of it all. But also, and I brought this up last episode, I was like, we're probably not going to have that episode where everyone goes home like they did in episode 2. And lo and behold, we don't have that. Everyone sticks it out this time. So once again, changing things enough to keep it interesting, because it's like, right, yeah, some things are similar, but we kind of get the polar opposite. Not everyone gets to leave. Everyone's staying this time around. It's just those little changes. And once again, the dynamics are different because you have a veteran in all of this, that veteran being Gi-hoon, but just like anyone else, he could still die even knowing the strategy. So the dude who ran the crypto scam wanted to stay. The person, Junhee, who I believe to be his significant other, decided that she didn't want to stay. The mom wanted out, and then she had to convince her son, like, don't have any stupid ideas. So he, only because of that, like, ended up leaving, but he was going to stay if she had said anything. The person that helped Gi-hoon with that guy crossing the line during the first game, they ended up deciding to stay as well. Once again, everyone has their reasons for being here. Oh yeah. Also, I forgot one of the other participants, and it makes all the sense of the world that he be here. The little girl's dad from last episode, he's here, and number 11 notices that, and she, is that's what's going to make this dynamic interesting too. Like, I don't know if she took the job planning on gathering that money just to help pay for that, or now it's like, it all play, like I said, it just plays into, like, right, so many people have people they know here. Like, there wasn't that much of a dynamic like that in season 1, but we have more of it now in season 2. And now once again we have someone on the inside, not because they're trying to blow this whole thing up, they're just a staff member, and she's probably going to be keeping an eye on home dude, the father, because I think he's like, what, 230 something, maybe 234, I can't remember his number, but you should have figured he'd be a contestant in this, and he survived. But it's going to be interesting to see, just like I said, the dynamic of this whole season and how it plays out and where everything ends up going. Like I said, are the games exactly the same or not? Because this season is shorter too, so some of those games might go by faster than others because we aren't. It's not the same pacing, because, like, so some of those games might get burned through, or like I said, the games might operate a little bit differently. So there's just a lot to keep in mind as we go forward and see how this all shapes out, and also see how people react to Gi-hoon going forward. Those who wanted to leave the game versus those who didn't want to leave the game, how they interact with Gi-hoon, and it's like, oh, you're going to help us go forward. And like I said, whether or not the games are the same, Gi-hoon can give them somewhat of advantage, but it's still up to them. Or, because some of those games, it doesn't matter. Like the marble game, it's like, well, there's people still going to die no matter what you do. There's the tug of war game, people are going to die no matter what you do. So it's like, what can you do? What will you do? So that's why I'm like, that's why I'm leaning more towards those games aren't coming back. It's only red light, green light, but who knows? We'll see. Very excited to see where the next episode takes us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.